This is by far the most immersive experience I have ever made for my players, and it's not that hard to do. What do I mean by immersive? I'm talking about creating situations where your players feel like they are inside the game. There's plenty of ways of doing baseline immersion using the five senses. You can use ominous music or voice modulators to make the sound immersive. If you're gonna give the players a treasure map, you could take the paper that it's drawn on in real life, pour coffee and tea all over it, and let it dry out so it feels old and crinkly and weathered. You could hide garbage and rotten food throughout the apartment so that it really smells like the sewers your players are exploring. That's stupid. Don't do that. If you got a festival or a weird fae picnic coming up, you could bake food in real life to emulate the food that the characters are eating in the game. And mood lighting can go a really long way. Those are all great ideas, they work really well, but let's be honest, none of them are really blowing minds. Let's blow some minds. If you are not a dungeon master, stop watching this video and send it to your dungeon master. This is for them. What I'm going to explain to them is not a way to trick you, it's not a way to pull one over, but it is a way to create one of the most memorable, immersive experiences that you will have at the gaming table. And I don't want it to be ruined for you. Alright, last chance, and if you still are like, ooh, I want to know what the HE double hockey sticks this mofo is talking about, then stick around. But man oh Manischewitz, don't say I didn't warn you, because this one is unique. Are they gone? Okay, cool. The first and most important piece of this puzzle comes from September 4th, 2014, when they posted an article simply titled False Hydra. If you're unfamiliar with the False Hydra, you might think, hey, what is that? Some sort of Hydra? And I guess yes, it is, but also it's not, because it's false. But more so than it not because it's false, it's not relevant whether it's a Hydra or not, because the things that make this monster so unusual and so unique have nothing to do with it being a Hydra. The False Hydra is an ambush predator, but unlike other ambush predators that conceal themselves with camouflage, lunging out at the last moment, the False Hydra hides in a very different and unique way. Just like the Silence from Doctor Who, the False Hydra hides in your lack of perception. Okay, to be fair, it works a little different than the Silence, because it's not like as long as you're looking at it, you remember it's there. It basically hides in your blind spot, but like psychologically so. Your mind actively avoids looking at it, and you just don't know that it's there. But that's not even the crazy part. That's just how it hunts. When the False Hydra actually eats someone, everyone forgets that they existed. These guys can literally post up in the center of a town and slowly eat the whole town without anybody noticing. Okay, so what's the point? How does this tie into making immersive experiences? I'm sure that y'all have been thinking, ooh, the False Hydra looks really scary, and that's a pretty creepy concept, and it is. But the real horror, at least to me, is this idea that not only can you lose someone, but even once you've learned that you've lost someone, it's hard to care because you don't remember them. You don't remember them enough to know how to feel about losing them. That's trippy. So here's what you do. You start with a town. The town should not be creepy seeming at all, just like a pretty ordinary, happy little hamlet. Your players need a reason to meet with someone there, a contact of some sorts, ideally someone of some import, like a mayor or a head of the city watch, or maybe a spy. But they can't find the person. In fact, no one in town really knows what they're talking about. No one will have a malicious attitude about this. If players decide to cast Zone of Truth, if they roll a 35 on an insight check, no one is lying to them. Everyone, as far as they know, is being genuine, as helpful as they can, and wholly truthful. Pretty early on into your players coming to town, have a street artist approach them and offer to paint a portrait of them. Make it super cheap, like 3 or 4 silver, so they're almost guaranteed to say yes. Have the artist tell them he's gonna need a couple days to finish the painting and to meet them back at the town square in like 2 or 3 days. Then have them go about their time. Maybe give them a side quest or two. You know what? Maybe have them find the house of the person they were supposed to meet. Maybe they investigate that house. Maybe they see, this looks lived in. They ask around. The neighbors say, yeah, as far as I know, no one's ever lived there. And as they're going about their little journeys through the town, things start to get stranger. They start noticing that there's actually quite a few empty houses around town. Everyone's acting like everything's fine, but clearly something is off. Okay, now's time to start turning the screw, putting the paranoia pieces at play. Your players should clearly notice that there's less people in the town than there were when they arrived. Maybe there was a random merchant on the street that is no longer there. Their cart is still there, but they're just gone. Maybe the inn that they've been staying at is no longer run by that portly old half-orc. It's just kind of a come and go as you please sort of place. Maybe it's always been that. That's when you drop the bombshell. You remember that artist from before? The one that offered to draw a portrait of your adventuring party? Oh, good news! He finished the portrait! It's ready! In real life, you are gonna hand your players a picture of the portrait that this artist made. Make this art as simple or complex as you want. If you are a good artist, try drawing a portrait of your player characters. They'll really appreciate it. If you're a bad artist, just draw a bunch of stick figures with identifying features so that the players can kind of figure out who each character is. Now here's where it gets a little bit too immersive. Put an extra person in the drawing. Wait a minute. Who's that? Yeah, we don't have a bard in the party. Who is this? The players are going to be asking these questions largely out of character, but you are going to answer in character. The artist looks to you confused. They seem almost as confused as you are. I don't know. I am so sorry. My imagination must have gotten the better of me. Sometimes I get carried away with my work. You know what? Here, take 2 silver back, and I hope you like the piece regardless. As the artist leaves, describe them as seeming genuinely confused and a little bit alarmed. It seems like they really are just as lost as you are. And when your party goes back to the inn that they've been staying at, they notice something odd. There's another bed in the room, and a backpack, and gold, and magic items. Magic items that aren't any of theirs. A backpack that they've never seen before. Maybe even a journal with entries that recount some of their adventures, but from a perspective that they have never heard before. And then, as the dungeon master, watch as it dawns on your players. There was somebody else in their adventuring party. Someone that they have absolutely no memory of. Whatever strange ailment is happening to the town is now happening to them. Who was this person? How long have they been adventuring together? How integral was this person to their quest that they were on? What sort of relationship did they have? How many people have they forgotten? How am I supposed to feel about this? How do you mourn for someone that you have no memory of? Maybe you don't. Maybe it's such a bewildering, otherworldly experience that the only thing you can do is try to shake it off and move forward. Or maybe you use that confusion, that dissonance, that utter uncertainty of feeling, and you use that to drive you forward, to solve the mystery, to stop whatever horrible thing it is that is doing this to people, that did this to you. Because now, not only do you see the effects of it, you feel them. And not just as a character, you feel them as a player. There's not a right or wrong way to respond to this. There's not a right or a wrong way to feel about it. None of that actually matters. When that moment of realization hits your players like a sledgehammer, and it will, the feeling that they have as people will perfectly match the feeling that they have as characters. It will be a little haunting, a little unnerving. How would you feel if you woke up tomorrow and realized that for your whole life, there was somebody else in it, and now they're just not, and you have no memory of them? You don't know how important they were to you. You don't know if you loved them, if you've hated them. You don't know. All you know is that they're gone, and something took them away. So what are you going to do about it?